God bless everybody. Today it's March 8th of 2024, and I want to touch on this specific topic because this could affect us in the next couple days on March 10th as we watch Ramadan kick in and potentially an invasion by Hezbollah into Israel, and how that could affect potentially Israel itself and possibly people on the ground. And there was a actual event in history, and I talk about past to future events that will reoccur. They usually repeat themselves. God gives us markers in the past to look at so we can get a determination on what possibly could happen in the future. And so I think it's extremely important that we determine if these things might happen, what happened in the past, and will that affect us in the future. We need to understand these things, and we always need to look at all options. So we're going to get into an article which I think brings this up, and it was from a question that someone had asked another organization, but I think it's extremely important. I think they did a really good job laying it out. So the premise is, in the parable of the fig tree, as you move into the paradigm of the modern day three kings that I presented, where Erdogan, Issac Herzog, and Reuvan Rivlin reflect three kings in the past, that they would be affected similarly in the future. And so if we understood the past, we could possibly see what's coming in the future. And so there's an extremely important event that actually could happen to the president of Israel, Issac Herzog, to where he is literally captured on that very first day of siege on March 10th. So I'm going to take you to the site just because the layout of the events here seem to be accurate. Now, in a lot of cases, when you get to Jehoiachin, the people that do this study tend to get it wrong. A lot of them say that Jehoiachin dies during this original attack on Israel. That is not the case. The Bible gives us a lot of information on how this really happens, but it affects the president or the leader of Israel at that very moment in time, and he's captured. So let's look at what's going on here. Now this one here, this Jehoiachin, is the son of Issac Herzog, or someone close to him and his family that will take over once Issac Herzog is captured. Okay, so I'm going to put this in reference first. But let's look at this. It won't take long. So this Jehoiachin, referred to as this Coniah, that's his name in the book, in the Bible, they refer him to this. And I've expanded this over a little bit so you can actually see these markers because they'll come up. So Jehoiachin was 18 years old, and I talked about it. This is the son of Issac Herzog, became king, and he reigned for 3 months, 10 days in Jerusalem. Because why? Antichrist will come back after he dies here on April 8th. He'll come back against Israel in that second siege. He takes the son and removes him, so he captures the son. So both of the father and the son are captured at this point. I'm going to show you this as we walk through. And then Antichrist puts in Zedekiah, okay, which is Reuvan Rivlin, because Reuvan Rivlin then, as the past president of Israel, would then have to step in and take over the duties of the original leader, because they can't run elections as they're under siege in Israel. So the son would be taken into captivity also, as it states here, when he's 18 years old, after his father is removed first. Okay. When you get into here, there's another passage that leads, well, same thing as up here, indicates that Jehoiachin will be 18 years old, reigns for 3 months, 10 days, and then he's basically dealt with, and he's captured also. And then look at that reference right before 2 Kings 24, 1 and 2. We're talking about that invasion by those proxies and how Turkey's going to walk in. It indicates that Jehoiachin was 18 years old, became the king, reigned for 3 months in Jerusalem, 3 months, 10 days actually. This mother's name and all this was indicated. And so he's giving us these references on what's coming. So Jehoiachin's father, Jehoiakim, and then it gives his other name. So look how they laid this out. It's extremely important. So Jehoiachin's father, which would be Jehoiakim, which is Issac Herzog today, gives you his name, was the son of a good king Josiah. Okay, so this is the grandfather. Explains that Necho had taken this person, the son of Josiah, who was initially succeeded him, captive, and placed Jehoiakim, whose name was changed from this to Jehoiakim, on the throne instead. Necho also imposed a levy on Judah, which Jehoiakim paid by taxing the people heavily. And so this is extremely important. Think about how this happened in the past. Jehoiakim, Issac Herzog, right now, worked with the Babylonian Turkey. And we saw this earlier in the last year or so. They came together, started to form an alliance, and then boom, it all fell apart, and to the point where Erdogan was calling Issac Herzog and Netanyahu like Hitler, and it's just totally broken down since. Okay, it's extremely important that we understand how this plays out. So Israel originally sided with Turkey. Then what happens? They move towards Egypt. Okay, and they start to side with Egypt. They don't pay their homage to the Babylonian anymore, or Turkey, okay, because now that tie's broken. But what's going to happen? Egypt is not going to actually help Israel, because when the time comes and they're under siege, they're going to flee and run back to their country, and they're not going to help. You're going to see this exact similar thing play out as we move forward. So Jehoiachin reigned for 11 years. Think about this. Now, this is a condensed time zone we're moving into. In the past, he reigned for 11 years. That's not going to happen here. And he did evil in God's eyes. It shows you all these things. Jehoiakim was 25 years. No, I don't know how old Issac Herzog is, and I don't think the day or the ages of these people matter. I think it's more about the person or the character in these groupings. He reigned for 11 years anyway, so I'm just letting you know that this is how it happened in the past. This is condensed time zone today. It's compressed. So when Jehoiachin's reign, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded Jerusalem. That's getting ready to happen, possibly on March 10th. Turkey could come in. Iran is probably going to physically come into this confrontation themselves, and all 10 nations will form against Israel to start to attack it between March 10th, mainly through that date of March 23rd, and then you get the 15 days of power, which take you into April 8th. So Jehoiakim becomes Nebuchadnezzar's vassal for 3 years, and I've talked about this. So the father, not the grandfather, the father, Issac Herzog, today on March 10th, during that initial attack, would be captured. He'd be in a compromising position. Hezbollah is going to invade. They probably have tunnels under Israel moving into places where they know. They probably have people in Israel that have been targeting Issac Herzog so they know where he is at all times. And so when we do have this invasion, it sets up this scenario. They're already in position. When Hezbollah goes in force while they're launching tens of thousands possibly of missiles on top of this country at the very same time to soften everything up as they're getting ready to siege Jerusalem, you're going to see this possibly happen. Now, I'm not saying it will. I'm saying it happened in the past this way. And it seems to be playing out in my parable of the fig tree and paradigm charts that I think it will play out like this as we move forward in the next month, especially the next couple days here. March 10th is huge. So he's taken as a vassal. He's captured and imprisoned for 3 years. Then he rebels. Okay, now think about that. If he's captured on April or March 10th, I'm trying to get my dates in my head straight, guys. I'm winging it here. I never use charts. I just throw it down out of my head usually. So he's captured on March 10th. Okay, then he's in prison for 3 years. So that takes you to March of 27, okay, and then he starts to rebel at the very end, prior to the 7th trumpet of October 2nd of 27. He starts to rebel against Antichrist while everything's getting ready to complete, okay. So this would happen around the March 27. He would then get away, release, something happens, so he has the ability to rebel against Antichrist. In response, the Babylonians proceed to attack Jerusalem. So that's why I said there's 2 sieges. One that's going to happen on March 10th, and then another one where he installs this new king later called Zedekiah. So he puts him in prison for 3 years. He then rebels in 27. Excuse me. It goes in. I love how it goes into these verses that we've been talking about. So the Babylonian proceeds to attack Israel. God sends those Hezbollah groups. I did a video about this in 2 Kings 24, 1 and 2, how Turkey would be poised, getting ready to come in through an invasion of the Kurds through Iraq and Syria. But we would see these proxies, that lists 4 of them actually, would indicate that they would actually go in and invade Israel in 2 Kings 24, 1 and 2. Babylon took over, and Egypt stood down. And that's what I mean. Egypt, they just throw their hands up and walk away, man. They don't even try. But this infuriates Antichrist as we move forward, because once Erdogan dies, turns into Antichrist, then he goes against Egypt and then moves to Iran and then comes back and attacks Israel that second time for this next event coming up. You know, you guys are in a biblical matter here. He explains it in the past that will play out in the future, at least in my opinion. We're going to know soon. We're going to know within a few days. So let's see if this really happens, okay? So Jehoiachin, the son of Issac Herzog, succeeds his father because his father's out of commission. Issac Herzog has a couple sons, and so possibly one of them, the youngest one, since this guy is like 18, could take over, because there's no time for them to hold elections and stuff. They're bringing in people because they're now under siege. And think about it. It'll be a headline story on March 10th if Issac Herzog is captured, okay? The president of Israel. Now, Netanyahu is not the president. He's the prime minister. And a lot of people take Enoch's thing and use him, Netanyahu, as the leader. That can't happen. If you look at Issac Herzog, he's the 11th leader. When you put in the 12th king or coming up, now I don't think it's the son. I think it's Zedekiah when you move down here. But anyway, when you put in that 12th king, that is the last king. And Enoch even alludes to that. So we look at the son of Issac Herzog. He succeeds his father in Jerusalem. He rules for a short period of time as Nebuchadnezzar lays siege against Jerusalem, and the young king, along with his mother and a bunch of royal officials, surrender to Babylon. They're taken into captivity. All this is in accordance to things that prophesied against Judah during the sins of Messiah, which is a grandfather to all Josiah. And you can go look at these things in Kings 2:24. 2 and 4. Wow, we're back there again. I'm telling you guys, you got to watch this stuff. And he also puts this in 2 Chronicles 36:15-21, that you would see the second deportation of Jews from Jerusalem during the second siege when Nebuchadnezzar, now Antichrist, comes back and puts Jehoiachin in prison. Now this happens later, okay, as we move into 25, 26, okay, not now. Okay, and I've shown you these dates on the paradigm and the parable of the fig tree chart. It lists these dates and when that might happen. Okay, so you have this potential happening where all these people are taken away. Nebuchadnezzar captures 10,000 people. Jehoiachin, the son of Jehoiakim, his mother, all the relatives, everything are taken away. Jehoiachin is imprisoned in Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar then installs his uncle. Now, in this case, it's Reuvan Rivlin, okay, because he's the past king that I talked about and how he works with all this. So they would take a past leader. Now that both these guys are out of commission, you have no leader of Israel anymore right this moment, even though he's in term, he's captured, so he's not effective. They bring Zedekiah in, but Nebuchadnezzar will be the one that implements him as this last king, okay? Zedekiah, though, is rebellious against King Nebuchadnezzar. And so he rebels against him for almost like 18 months. And then Nebuchadnezzar, or in this case, Antichrist, comes back for the second attack. Because when Jehoiachin is removed after 3 months, 10 days, so think about that. Issac Herzog is captured on March 10th. He rules for 3 months, 10 days, probably compressed, because everything's compressed at this time. And then Antichrist, okay, so now we have this resurrection shift into Antichrist, and then 18 months later, based on the chart, Antichrist then puts in Reuvan Rivlin so that he can play the rest of the story out. Now we talk about after 11 years of Zedekiah's rule, okay, so Reuvan Rivlin came in 2014, 11 years later would be 2025, and so that makes sense. We're moving into 2025 as indicated on the parable of the fig tree, and so that makes sense. I'll go to that chart real quickly so I can show you where that is. So if you go to endofdayssurvival.com, you go down to the 5th PDF, you click on that, that takes you to the chart I'm going to. Right now, you're in this portion of the chart, getting ready to walk into March, okay? 18 months later, though, you're going to get into this event here, and that matters to Zedekiah. So you are here. Let me move this back just a little bit. So you're here on March 10th. Okay, Issac Herzog potentially would be captured. We would see his son basically take over. You're going to watch a devastation on April 8th, so the son might not matter, but he gets captured, so that might happen around here, and this is compressed. And then when you get over into this August 25 date, we see the walls broken down, the residue of the people taken away, possibly the city is breached. Reuvan Rivlin is captured on the plains of Jericho. His eyes are plucked out. His 2 sons are killed. He is then taken into captivity. And then what happens? The son of Netanyahu kills that regional leader that Antichrist places into place. Okay? And look at that. Then you walk into those 1290 days. marker and the 1335 prior to abomination. So it follows the chart. It makes sense. And just for your own optic, this is what this gentleman looks like. It shows that he's the 11th president of Israel, that he's the incumbent. This guy's going to be in a real problem here soon. He may actually be captured and be taken away in the next couple days. So I think that is extremely important that we follow this guy right now. So you have this original attack. Issac Herzog would be captured. His son would be put into place here, okay, on March 10th or around that time. He would then also be captured, which would then lead you into Zedekiah also being placed into a leadership position, and then he's also captured and taken away in 25. So hopefully you're still following the progression of events here, and I'm making some sense of this stuff. So Nebuchadnezzar installs Zedekiah. Zedekiah is in position for 11 years, which he has been, to 25. So then he would take over and then rebel for those 18 months or so. Antichrist then comes back around that 2025 date that I showed you on the paradigm, and then resieges Jerusalem and takes Zedekiah captive. Okay. More exiles are taken off to Babylon. Zedekiah, like I indicate, has a terrible fate. His eyes are removed. His sons are killed. He's taken away. His family and all that are taken away as they're trying to escape on the northern plains of Jericho. So you have these potential events literally happening similar to what they did in the past. And so it's extremely important that we follow the past events and how that might affect us. And it sort of goes into Jehoiachin's fate and all the different things, but that's something we're not going to get into here. But I do want you to realize that you possibly have an event that is playing out. I talked about this many times on my parable and my paradigm, how that could affect us. And now you're in this March 10th date where we could potentially see literally Jehoiachin, the president of Israel, literally captured on March 10th, taken away, and that will then chart this chain of events that will take you into this April 8th destructionary mode of this possible sixth seal. So you got Ramadan starting on March 10th. You have a potential Hezbollah launch, a major attack into from West Bank, Lebanon, Golan Heights into Israel. Turkey and Iran will probably walk into this war now that is full blown, and they're not going to hide they don't care about the proxies anymore. They're just going to join completely in the attack. So you're going to see Iran and Turkey physically enter this battle, because that's the time we're in, guys. You start the forming of the 10 nations that end up on the 23rd, literally attacking Israel, forming through the leader Erdogan of Turkey, and then he then gets decimated, all of his armies, on a sixth seal event on April 8th, which then builds you into a resurrectional burial event after Ramadan ends, and we see Antichrist rise. At this moment in time, this all happens for April 20th, guys. And then as all these trumpets go off, Antichrist, false prophet rise, and then we see a signing of the treaty with the nations that takes you into 1260 days, which then, if you drop that down to the 1260 days, takes you to the Feast of Trumpets of October 2nd of 2027, and this shortened second half to abomination, because if you take the 1260 day gap between April 20th and October 2nd, that's 1260 days. And so if you look at how this is laid out, you have an abomination in the middle of this with a shortened second half. He tells you he has to shorten the second half or the elect will not survive the nightmare. And I talked about how the little horn is only given a shortened period of time of 1260 days. So I do not buy into the 7-year process that everybody usually alludes to in their charts. So I hope I've explained this a little bit. It's not confusing. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic, so I tend to do my best to explain this stuff and chart it out so you can actually see it, and maybe I'm not saying something wrong. It's right here in front of you. Another thing that I wanted to tell you real quickly, because I just had this question brought to my attention. And I want to bring this to your attention because you guys can go out and you can pull out this text file in. So I have a YouTube site. That's where I post most of my stuff. But then I add it to Wix so that you guys can follow my stuff. If you go to James Boldemeyer, if you come down to this last video about the paradigm, okay, and you click on that, what's going to happen is that's going to take you into my description, okay? And so when you bring up the description, I want to bring this up because it's extremely important, okay? When you bring up this description, I've added the text file here so you can see this calendar of events that's coming up. It goes over a lot of information, goes over the cities that the eclipse is going over. It goes over everything that I can add to this thing so you get more depth. Then it also gives you the link to the parable of the fig tree chart, okay, or Psalm 90:10 chart. So I try to update this in the description of the YouTube and Rumble videos so you can actually see all these events and you can write them down, you know, paste and copy this onto a file that you can actually print it out and you can see it. And then I also give you the Rumble. If you don't like YouTube, you can go out and look at that. So these tools are for you guys so you can see these things, and I've laid it out so it's easy to understand. Now I have to explain it to you, but look at all these events that are coming up and how this could potentially affect you as we move into the Feast of Trumpets 27. So I give you all these resources. It's extremely important that you understand these things, okay? So now we are into this set of events that I've been warning you about for a long time. We watched this set of events happen. We knew that was coming, guys. We knew it was coming. Okay, now you're leading us. He's leading us. God is leading us. Jesus is leading us into this event here during Ramadan. It's going to take you into the sixth seal event on April 8th, which is then going to bring forth the rising of an Antichrist through a dead Gog. I know that sounds crazy, but it is what it is. God's going to do this his way, not ours. It's beyond most of our mind's capacity to understand exactly what's coming here. But between the 8th and the 20th, things are going to really break, and that will take you into those 1260 days to the Feast of Trumpets of 27, October 2nd, when I believe that the rapture of Jesus truly happens on the last trumpet, the seventh trumpet. If you go to Thessalonians 1, Thessalonians 4, it gives you this extremely important statement that everybody abuses. So I'm going to end this on this note because this is what everybody abuses. I get so tired of hearing about how this is the rapture. Okay, you're right, it's the rapture, but it doesn't happen prior to the seventh trumpet. Okay, when you go to 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 16, it tells you in an order of things and gives you some extremely important things that if you follow my chart will make sense. For the Lord Jesus himself descends from heaven with a shout, talking about the archangel Michael, and with the trump of God, the last trump, the seventh trump, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain from great tribulation The people that have made it through the 1260 days to rapture, fall feast, October 2nd, 27, are caught up together in the clouds. So that's what I mean. Jesus starts to come down through the clouds from heaven, which is teleported above us, possibly through space folding. He's coming down through the clouds. As he hits the clouds, the dead that believe in Jesus, including the fifth martyr, all the people up to that point, prior to the sixth seal, literally are rose. Everybody through the seventh trumpet that's dead that believes in Jesus, all those people will rise first. Not the people that don't believe. That happens through the great white throne judgment after this in Revelation 20:21. Okay, this, all dead shall rise first. Okay, it says that believe in Christ. Then the people from great tribulation rise to meet the Lord in the air, so that he can then place the bowls down on the wicked that are below us during the seventh bowls. Okay? And we're not appointed for the wrath of God. So you need to understand they're abusing these two verses here. Read it for what it states. The Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel. Michael's on the ground opening the pit. He just pulled Satan from heaven on the fifth trumpet to resurrect him on the sixth trumpet through Satan getting the key and opening up the abyss. And then he tells you the last trumpet, the dead in Christ shall rise, and then we will meet him in the clouds so that he can come down and finish the story called basically destroying the wicked on the planet so that we can get into the millennial phase. Okay? So it's extremely important that you see this. And if you look at the Revised Standard Version, which I use, it indicates that the Lord himself will descend from heaven with the cry or command of Archangel Michael. Basically, there's only one archangel. There's one head of the angels. And with the sound of the trumpet. Okay, so anybody that's pre-raptured, there's no trumpets happening prior to the seals. Okay? There's nothing that's going to take you away prior to the trumpet phase and the seventh trumpet. You need to understand this, because these churches have been lying to you about when you're going to be removed, and so you're not getting ready. You're not doing anything. You're just going to get a free ticket. You're going to be taken away, and it's going to turn out badly for you. And then what are the churches going to do when you come up to them? You're still down here, and you look at them and go, "You've lied to me. You know, now I'm in real trouble. I can't affect my situation now. So now what are you going to do for me? I'm just going to suffer because you gave me false information." Now, I'm not trying to give you false information. I'm letting you know that based on my opinion and my study, that pre-rapture narrative falls apart in so many ways. All you got to do is look at 8:13 Revelation. It gives you that clue about the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpet and how that falls through the 22 chapters. If you break those visions out that Daniel or that John is given, it's a chronological book, so it makes sense. And I just explained this in my last video, how you go from Revelation 10:7, where the seventh trumpet about blows. It blows in 15:1 and 2. Then he hands out the seven bowls. So it is a chronological event that's happening here. But you need to realize that you are here. You are now in a position that we're going to start to see this completely play out, and you potentially have a March 10th event, which is what this video is about, that you have a leader of Israel that might be in harm's way and could potentially be captured, taken away into captivity in approximately 2 days. So will that play out? I don't know. God always reoccurs events. They always repeat. I'm guessing he gave us a roadmap or an example in the past that's going to play out in the future, as I've always indicated. So be safe out there, guys. The next month is going to be terrible. You're in March 8th, moving into April 8th, which is 6th seal event. It's coming on you now, guys. You got 30 days for us all to break out, at least in my opinion. We'll see how that happens. Put your oil in your lamp, get right with Jesus, find the open door, and be safe. God bless.